Never forget where money comes from, and never forget that is the true cause of inflation. Everybody, welcome to the Sunday live stream. We got a lot of things to cover, so let's just jump right in. So, today, what we were talking about is options, puts, calls, and the different things that are going on, and also bank custody. And what I want to share with you is this first clip right here. And if you've watched the show any length of time, you know that from when I talk about Michael Saylor, I get where he's coming from, but some of the things he talks about, I just don't understand as far as like why he wants to just straight up accumulate and do nothing else with Bitcoin. I know people have given me a lot of grief about that, but I'm like, look, uh, most of us aren't Michael Saylor. We don't have a corporation which produces billions of dollars every year. We are just average, hardworking individuals that at some point maybe we want to sell and use our Bitcoin for other purposes. Maybe we have massive debt. Maybe we need a new kidney. Maybe we have to, actually want to buy a house instead of living, in some crummy one-bedroom apartment. It just depends on where you're at. But the things that he talks about here, and he is talking with Savi Demas, which I have his book right here, excellent read, Principles of Economics. He says something and a lot of things that make total, complete sense. And you can tell the dichotomy between a Bitcoin maximalist and, say, a super Bitcoin maximalist. And this is going to get into options, calls, puts. This will get into banks, and this will get to like where things are going and how to gain yield on Bitcoin, which is, I think, quite honestly, the holy grail right beyond the ETF. So without further ado, this is about 3 minutes long, a little bit longer, but a lot of things that are said in here are perfect. I linked in the description for this clip so you can find the Bitcoin Standard podcast, but just take a listen to this and we'll roll from here.
My point is, wouldn't you like for JP Morgan to just pay you 5% of your Bitcoin value risk-free?
I mean, ideally, I'd like 500%, but I want to keep my Bitcoin more than I want the 5 or the 500% chasing after them.
Well, no one's going to pay 500% interest on a loan.
Yeah, and I think the 5% as well. I mean, if everybody's got their Bitcoin in 5%, well, how are you going to make more Bitcoin? Eventually, you're going to have more Bitcoin needs to be paid than there is Bitcoin in existence.
I'm not talking about issuing more Bitcoin. I'm saying that the current risk-free rate, if you have money at JP Morgan, you put it in a money market, it pays 550 basis points. So wouldn't you like to get 550 basis points on your Bitcoin balance without converting it to dollars, right? Right now, you have to convert it to US Treasuries to get 550 basis points. But if you do it, it's effectively risk-free. I mean, it's pretty close to risk-free.
It's not, man. I don't think it's risk-free. I think it works with fiat.
Once the U.S. government fails, the U.S. government's not going to let J.P. Morgan fail.
Yeah, but the U.S. government has already failed several times over the last century. In 1934, they defaulted on gold. In 1971, they defaulted again on gold.
Okay, well, fine. So now you're going all maxi on me. But if that's the point, let me just make the point that there's no way that El Salvador is going to pay their expenses without selling their Bitcoin if no one's willing to give them yield on the Bitcoin. Right? In your world, if you have expenses, you're going to have to sell the asset.
But you're going to have incomes. So you cover your expenses from your income and you keep stacking sats and you grow up your stack forever.
Well, the point is, if the capital doesn't generate a return, it's a non-performing asset. So you need to address the issue. If I put $100 billion into Bitcoin and I get 0% yield, that's just as bad as I have $100 billion in U.S. bonds that pay 0% yield. In both cases, they're non-performing assets. I'm going to have to sell my house, my kids, my whatever to pay my hospital bills if I don't get any yield off of my assets. It's non-performing.
Look, I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that in a world in which the money supply is fixed and there's no lender of last resort, in a world in which JP Morgan doesn't have a magic money printer, because JP Morgan prints money. It's not just the US government and the Federal Reserve that print money. JP Morgan is also able to print money, and they can borrow from the Federal Reserve at the lowest interest rate.
Right.
So in that kind of fiat privilege system, they are able to offer you 5% because they are printing that money. They're going to be able to pay you. They make the $1 billion that they lend you in the first place out of thin air, and then they get money from the interest that they make on other people's billions of dollars that they made out of thin air. That game stops in Bitcoin. There's no lender of last resort. So now, if you're a 22-year-old and you have a business idea, you need to find somebody to get you equity. And I don't see that as a problem. Why is that a problem? You get equity, you share in the upside, you share in the downside.
10 years from now, we're still going to have the dollar. Safety. We're still going to have banks. We're still going to have governments, right? You're imagining a world where the governments and the banks go away. It's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away. And when we were playing that clip, I could take a look in the comment section and people were like, why is he doing this? Why is he changing his mind? This doesn't make any sense. Why is he talking about yield? It's all about personal preference and where things are going. So if you believe that the government in next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years is going to collapse, US government, which means all the banks essentially will collapse. Maybe other central banks will take over as time goes on. But if you believe that, then yes, stacking sats and getting through Bitcoin is great. However, the question you have to ask yourself is this, and this is what Michael Saylor is saying, which is like, look, I can do this for 50 years, but in 50 years, I'm dead. And of course, for you, maybe you're saying to yourself, well, I'm just doing this for my kids and my grandkids. That's great, but not everybody's you. So when he's talking about gaining yield and moving from here, I think there's a big dichotomy again between like what would be considered like a Bitcoin maximalist, Michael Saylor, and what would be like the ultimate Bitcoin maximalist, Saifedean, because there is a difference between what they're talking about. Now, in the end, it's all the same goal. It's all about getting into Bitcoin, but I think we really kind of go into the weeds here. But what he was saying, what Michael Saylor was saying makes sense. If it's an asset and it's not getting me yield right now, it's a non-performing asset. Later on, it's change, and this is over a 3-year time frame. You're looking at Solana's up 395%. That's pretty good. You know, Cardano's down. That's not good. And Ton is up 10,000 something percent. That's over 3 years. And you can put this into 1 year or whatever else. Daily transactions, it's 1,200%. It's pretty good. 23%. Cardano's down. And TVL, it's okay. Ton is up 80%. Cardano's 24%. Solana's down. Interesting. 18%. But remember, this is over a time frame. And then DEX trading volumes. So, and then, there's one I wanted to show you though. This one. Revenue. How much are they making? Well, Solana's crushing it because everybody's using that for their crazy meme coins. And they made a bunch of, look at that, Solana, 1.7 million %. That is a big indicator. And then Toncoin, 75%. I don't know where. Why isn't Cardano showing up on this one? Probably something I did here. But you can just see that revenue is a pretty big factor. And then some people say, well, Rob, we don't want high revenue because that means that the costs are high. Yes, that is true. But at some point you have to keep the lights on. And some of the biggest ways to do that for a company is to gain revenue, or you can just do high inflation, whichever one you want to do. So anyhow, I will have you look at that. I think things are going in the right direction for Ton. Unfortunately, the founder is being detained in France for some ridiculousness that is related to free speech, but it's neither here nor there. Ton blockchain is doing good, but I do worry about it, and this is why. This is Hamster Combat. We talked about this. It's a goofy clicker game. I know. I played it myself. It's actually kind of fun on some days, especially want to kill some time. And you don't want to keep doom scrolling on Twitter. But just so you know, it looks like if you've been playing this game, there's going to be an airdrop. And the airdrop, I believe, is the 26th of September. And what's interesting about this is, first of all, I played it, and apparently I'm going to get 668 hamster tokens. What does that mean for me? Well, check this out. This is from the Binance blog, and it looks like they're going to launch Hamster Combat on Binance, the largest exchange in the world. And the hamster token airdrop is approaching September 26th. Oh, okay, I was right. Hamsters Combat's player base has surged to 300 million globally. I thought they were only at 250. Apparently now they have 300 million. That is a boatload of players. That is the largest airdrop that has ever happened in crypto. If the Ton blockchain doesn't falter, it's amazing. I'll just say that. Pre-market activity on Bybit, which began in July, has shown the token's price swing between a fraction of a penny to 10 cents. And here's the price predictions. Here's the key drivers. 60% of the total supply to players during the airdrop that'll be delivered. 60% of total supply is going all to the players. That means there's a total supply of 100 billion. That means they get, let me do some quick math, 60 billion. On the same day as the airdrop, Hamster will debut on Binance. Binance support is likely to bolster trader confidence. September 23rd, Binance Launchpad will enable, excuse me, users to stake BNB and FDUSD to farm more hamster tokens. They call that a value sink, meaning when you stake it, that doesn't get sold. Tokens' long-term movement will depend heavily on how players engage with it post-launch. Because I gotta wonder, are people gonna play this game when there's no token airdrop? We'll see. So here's the price predictions. Short term, 10 cents to 30 cents. That's pretty good. Like for me, I played this game not that much, honestly. I'm gonna get 668 tokens. What was it, like $60 for playing a game? That's not bad. Let's say it goes to 30 cents. Well, now I got like $180. That's pretty good. The midterm price, it could go between 30 cents and 50 cents. Long term, it could surpass 50 cents. However, long-term success will largely depend on the game's continued popularity and the broader crypto gaming landscape. Fascinating. I will say, I don't know if it could actually do that because one of the first clicker games was called Notcoin, which is in the top 100. And I did take a look at this today and I thought there's no way that this price would hold up. And it didn't, but it's still in the top 100. It still has a fully diluted valuation of $750 million or $743 million. Price went from a fraction of a penny all the way up to 2 cents. And now it's 0.00. So right under a penny right now, but still not too bad. So when I take a look at this, I think to myself, how would I play this? Well, you played a game, you got free funds. If you like take some profits, here's what I recommend. There's a video. There's a link in the description. It's called the half and half method. Essentially, is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to sell half, and then you're going to wait for things to double up, and you're going to sell again. Even if it doesn't, you took half off the table, and you are profitable. This works for all these new altcoins and all these new clicker games. You don't have to listen to this advice, but I'm just saying it's worked out pretty well. And people say, well, what about missing out on like generational gains? Look, there's a 5,000 different tokens out there. Even if you would have done this half and half method with, say, Ethereum, and you got 1,000 Ethereum at a nickel, and you did a half and half and half and half, you'd still be a millionaire. So just try that out. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. And then to finish up, just real quick, I don't know what's going on with the US, but OKX, the centralized exchange, is going to relaunch in the United States. I don't know why they're doing this because we don't have the most favorable legislation or clarity, but this is also piggybacks to Circle, and the stablecoin issuer of USDC is announcing their move back to New York. Now they're still in the United States, but we hear all the time about these crypto agencies and ecosystems and projects just jumping ship and going to other different parts of the world because they're more favorable, Dubai being one of them. But now it seems like there's more of a shift and people are coming back to the United States. Now with Circle, I can understand because they're going to do an initial offering coming up hopefully sometime this year or maybe in 2025. So they're moving back, but it's just weird that we see that and OKX relaunching. And there's a couple other ones that I've heard rumors of that I can't verify that are coming back to the United States. So it's like, what do they see that we don't see? Something's going on. And unfortunately, the one thing that is going on in the States is, well, bending the knee. Elon Musk complies with the Brazilian court orders, suspends accounts on X. I think this is a disappointment, but I'm sure there's reasons behind it. If you're not up to speed in Brazil, I believe also in UK, they are, first of all, shutting down X, or we used to be called Twitter. They're not allowing that to happen, which essentially they are suppressing free speech. UK, I think, is giving out a ton of fines if you talk negatively about the government. That's just some posts that I've seen on X. I find this very disturbing, especially living in America, because it's a hindrance of free speech, which if you don't have free speech in a country, you essentially have nothing but a dictatorship and perhaps something else. And the reason I bring this up because not only because of that, but Guy over at Coin Bureau did a great video on just how important free speech is and how it relates to different governments, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and also what that means for crypto. So I linked that in the description. I think it's one of the best ones they've done ever. So check that video out, but that's it for today. So look, if you like today's video and it went really long, Give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. We talk about his time censored. Now, if you want to talk about, do a little Q&A, I'll answer all your questions to the best of my abilities, and we will go from there. If you got to take off, go enjoy the Sunday. I agree. Let's get out of here.